Hello, and welcome to Never a Dull Moment, a talk show and podcast for angels and founders. Ziad of Boston Harbor Angels has fun with co-hosts and guests as they discuss and debate all topics from the world of startups and entrepreneurship. Welcome to the conversation. Now, here they are. Enjoy the show.
Morning, Sanjay. How are you?
Good.
Happy New Year.
Great. Happy New Year to you, too.
Yeah.
Right
So glad to have you. Let's just jump right in. First of all, I'd love, if you're okay, for you to tell your story of how you ended up in Boston. And then we'll talk about facial recognition.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Nepal, and right after 10th grade, I was looking for a better place to get educated. And I got offered a scholarship to a school, international baccalaureate school in New Mexico. They paid for the 2 years, airfare included. So I took it. And there they said, you know, based on your math, chemistry, physics grades, you ought to apply to MIT. And I said, what's MIT? Just apply, see if you get in. I said, you know, we have not much money in Nepal, so I don't think I can afford it. And they said, MIT is needs blind, just apply, and they'll cover the delta. Well, my delta was 100%, and they covered the 100%, and here I am. I've been here pretty much since undergraduate days.
Nice. All right, well, let's get going. So MIT was instrumental in your career and led you to becoming, among other things, an expert in facial recognition technology. So this is big. Facial recognition now is starting to be everywhere. We don't know about it. So first of all, tell me, how powerful is facial recognition? I mean, as simple as if you're wearing sunglasses, does it recognize who you are?
Yeah. So we all know, there are these two hype humps, right? According to Gartner and all. I think for AI, the first hype hump was probably in the mid 80s. And I think a lot of investors lost a lot of money in that hype curve. You know, it was a lull for a little bit for AI. And literally because of compute, the math hasn't changed a lot, but the compute has, right? In the last 5 years, the neural networks, the learning part of AI has really helped, all aspects. And we're hearing even more nowadays. Where facial recognition, but computer vision generally, came about is about 5-6 years ago, and it completely leapfrogged all previous ways to do things like facial recognition. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, it's all about the training data. And if you've trained your model, call it neural network model, to recognize faces with or without sunglasses, yeah, we can absolutely recognize with or without sunglasses. Generally, a fancy word for things around the face are called occlusions. So let's say, Ziad, you provide a selfie, clean shaven, and you want to be recognized after you have a good beard and mustache. Yep, no problem. That's an occlusion. Dark glasses, hats, headsets, all occlusions. And if you've trained your model well, you can absolutely recognize even with those. And due to the pandemic, we came to know about a new occlusion where we lost 40% of the landmarks. Landmarks are what you see around the face, called face masks.
Masks, yeah.
And even with face masks on, at least Wicked's algorithms can recognize you.
Wow. Okay. So this is the raw science, right? So the raw science, if you take that, what you call the computing power plus the science or the AI behind it, now computer vision can recognize people with occlusion, without occlusion. So that's the raw piece. Now, on
Yep.
top of that, we start talking about applications to this.
Yes.
So this is where it becomes interesting. So let's start. Tell us about your view on the general applications of all this technology.
Yeah. I'm of the age where, back in the day, there was a big black box called software. So there was hardware, there was financial services, there were, agriculture, and there was this industry called software. Everything was software, right? And oh, you're in software, great. So we are in computer vision and facial recognition today, how software was considered in the, let's say, mid 70s, early 80s, right? It's one big blob. So facial recognition in the general context is one blob. What you bring up, Ziad, quite rightly, is what we call use cases or applications. So one use case that the general public gravitates towards, I think, the public just can't help it because it's in Hollywood, it's in the general consciousness. Facial recognition being used to detect criminals or to be matched with, law enforcement databases and all. That is what the use case that I call facial surveillance. There are other use cases, and Wicked, by our values and by our way to go to market, have said, we think the TAM, total addressable market, is not in facial surveillance. There are plenty of companies in that space. We call them security companies. And there are plenty of customers, mostly in law enforcement. And they're doing fine. And that's one way to make, create a good business. Where we think the TAM is amazing is applications where you, the individual, opt in and want convenience or benefits to the individual. So those use cases is where Wicked is very active. So let's start with what are some of those use cases? A very simple
and
one.
And can you tell people, okay, Wicked is the company you run right now, right?
Yes, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wicked. We've been at this for a little over 2 years. Our algorithms have been active, and the product has been going for almost 4 years. So 4 years in this new era of facial recognition and computer vision is, we're grandfathers, right? because this is brand new territory. Yes, Wicked is the company I run. We are very small, about 5 in Cambridge and about 20 in Pennsylvania. But our customers, our use cases, all by opt-in, is quite a wide gamut.
Excellent.
For instance, we got started, and every new venture needs the first customer, and you have to be very careful who you pick as your first customer. So I think it's a very, very difficult time for everyone. But let me remind you what we were going through in 2020, and starting March 2020. Everything started shutting down. You are not going to a concert or a sporting venue. Having said that, I still remember this, call very, very well. July 1st, 2020, the Cleveland Browns called us and said, "Hey, you guys have been talking about facial ticketing. Can you guys detect people with masks on?" Because the Ohio governor said maybe he'll let 20% of our fans into the stadium for first game in early September. And we said, yes, those are called occlusions, and we can detect people accurately even with those kinds of occlusions like face masks. They did not believe it. They said, all right, let's do first 2 games for free. And first hour of the first game, they said, holy moly, this works. Okay, we pay for all 8 home games.
So just to explain, facial ticketing means you walk through the gate of a stadium and a camera sees your face and knows you have a ticket and opens the door, right?
Correct. In a nutshell, that's what it is. There's a little bit of, remember we said opt-in, right? So the workflow is fairly straightforward. let's say the marketing department of the teams might send you an email saying, "Hello, Ziad. This year we have this new program called Accelerated Access," and every team uses their own branding. But let's say they say, "We have this special technology where you do not have to wait half an hour in line anymore. You don't have to open your phone. You don't have to provide the QR code. You just walk into this accelerated access lines. And if you want to do that, please click this link." And that link is serviced by Wicket. Okay. So that link basically takes you through the legalese, and you opt in, click. And then we ask you for a selfie. And we ask you for a selfie right this moment. Now, we don't want your vacation pictures and all that. Why is that? Because we want to control what we get. We want only one good picture. So as an example, we don't want the camera too close to you, too far from you. And you just use your own device, your iPhone, your laptop, whatever. We don't want a big light source behind you, like a window. So we'll ask you to move or whatever. But when we're comfortable, and most people get it in first try, we'll say, and we'll see you at the game. You're all set. And at the game, you go to the lanes that say Accelerate Access. We know who you are with a good level of confidence from, say, 15 feet out. By the time you start walking towards we call it a sensor. A sensor is a camera and a compute put together. In this particular case, we're hardware agnostic, so the teams use an iPad. Our algorithms, computer vision algorithms, are running inside the iPad. It's embedded. The iPad also happens to have two cameras in the front, one optical, one depth camera. The depth camera is to make sure we can detect spoof, right? So by the time you're approaching this, effectively an iPad on a pole, which is a lane, by the time you're within 6 feet, we know with very, very high degree of accuracy, it is you, even with face mask on and all that.
But already, my mind is racing. I can go buy popcorn or a beer, show my face, done, case closed. I don't have to worry about someone stealing my credit card. I mean, the possibilities are endless just by hearing you talk. I'm already
So first, the use case of ticketing, right? So at 4 feet, we'll say, "Ziad, welcome, enjoy the game." It'll be green, so there's visual feedback. That will take 300 milliseconds, less than half a second. So 30 minutes of wait, no line, 300 milliseconds, you're going in. So now you have half an hour to do whatever you want. Now you want to go buy a beer. So now we also have facial payments. So let's say, in addition to the selfie, you're okay providing a picture of your driver's license to make sure that you're of age, because beers and alcoholic beverages are age-gated products, right? And you say, I also don't want to mess around with the credit card. I'll provide my credit card details as well. So now you can order through your mobile app, be at your seat or wherever, and then it'll say, go to this concessionaire and pick up pile A as opposed to B, C, or D, right? So it'll be ready for you, and you get an alert, and you can go and pick up pile A. They can see who's approaching. They, as in the people behind the counter, they don't even need to interact with you. They don't need to see your ID. They don't need to get your credit card, because it's all taken care of. They do need to know who you are, right? And that is the facial recognition. So we call this facial payments. We started facial payments, in the fall of 2022.
Wow.
And it has been a fantastic, success, not just for the fans, but for the concessionaires as well. So here's an example. You go to a concert or you go to a ball game, the food and beverage is slightly overpriced, but you go there to have a good time. You don't mind. You're going to go have 2 beers and 2 hot dogs for you and your buddy. If you could just pick up, as I just said, in less than a second, you'll say, well, I didn't miss the game. I didn't miss the concert. You might go back for second, third, fourth beer as well. But let's say you had to wait 45 minutes, and sometimes it is that long, half an hour, 45 minutes. You're going to miss the game. You're watching the game on the TV. You don't want to do that again. And now what happens? You not only have a very bad time, the fan, engagement, fan satisfaction's messed up, number one. But number two, the concessionaire and the teams do not make as much money. It's a revenue gen play here, right? Because your 5 years worth of revenue sat in your wallet. It did not get spent, right?
Okay.
So for all these reasons, it is not only a convenience, this is a revenue generator, right? So facial ticketing, facial payments, and we also do VIP management. So VIP management means basically, you're a VIP, Ziad, and you and your buddies at PHA have a box, up on the suite. You need to tap your card or show your ticket 3 or 4 times before you get there. Our view is, what's wrong with your face? You just keep walking, right? There are cameras at every stage, and we know, oh, yep, this is Ziad, he belongs in box 210, he's box 210. So with opt-in, you can do all of that. If you say, I don't care for that, then you need to show your QR code and so on and so forth. So we talked about facial ticketing, we talked about facial payments. We can also open just about any door because, the key card is connected to the door lock system. So we're already integrated to, HID, Paxton, all the big names, right? Johnson Controls, Genentech, and the face to the door lock system is like a key card. In fact, you can say, I want 2-factor authentication, the key card and the face. Now there's more security. Why? Because if you give me your key card, I tap and I open the door, the door lock mechanism and the system will say, oh, Ziad entered the office at 9:17 a.m. Really, it was me.
So
it's harder for you to give me your face.
What is the accuracy compared to fingerprints? Like what is, in the early days in the movies, they say they scan your retina and that's the ultimate biometric analysis. So is your face harder to fake, I guess, than a fingerprint? Or is it more accurate? What's your assessment on that?
So again, I can't comment on other people's models, but we have our own proprietary model. We did not, use academic or public domain models and tweak it. We developed it from scratch. And I think you've been to our offices in Central Square. I'm fortunate that some of our computer vision PhDs are extremely talented. And our models and the way we've trained it and all that make it extremely accurate. And so let me bring up 3 acronyms for you: P, O, and I. P stands for pose. Pose means which way are you looking at the camera. Most people in a enterprise setting or indoor setting know there's a camera, they look straight. Where do we mostly operate? Or where did I want to try this technology out that we developed? I want to try it in the most difficult environment, in sporting venues, in a very compressed 2-hour time frame where people are scrambling to get to their seats. It's a very, very important time. And we've now done 3 seasons of NFL games, right? And our false positive, which means we let the wrong person in, our false positive rate is 0%.
Oof.
Right? And so, it's a very stressful environment. The pose is not frontal. You're looking at your device, you're looking down, you're talking to your buddy, so I see the side of your face, yet we need to get it right. So that's pose, P. O is occlusion. We already talked about that. You come, You registered one way, you come with more hats or dark glasses, mufflers because it's cold and all that. And I is illumination, which is basically lighting. In the indoor use case, like office suite door, the lighting is constant. It's not that difficult. In a ticketing environment, let's say outdoor, 4 to 6 p.m., what has the sunlight done? It's completely changed, and yet we cannot get it wrong. So our model is extremely good with P, O, and I, pose, occlusion, and illumination. So to answer your question, we have not made a mistake, thank God, until now. But also where the threshold is not very, it's very configurable. We're not looking to, so far anyway, we are not protecting a bank vault. We're protecting, a $100 professional sports seat, if you will, right? So you can bring the line wherever the customer would like. Because if you make it too stringent, then we're going to reject the customer. And for what? For $100 doesn't quite make sense. So and we have a POV now, point of view. So we advise our clients, our customers who don't know what they don't know, right? Because they want to do this, but they don't know the first steps to do this. We've done this multiple times now. And so we say, best practice is this. We recommend this. You can make changes to it, but it might be helpful.
But the possibilities are endless. I mean, you could open it up to more of a social environment where if you allow, right, you opt in, and that's important. You know who's sitting in your row. Maybe it's someone you know, or someone you could do business with, or in dating apps, or I mean, the possibilities are endless on what you can do if you know who's in the stadium.
Yes, and it's not only stadium, right? So I call Wicket a facial authentication company. And I'm very careful to make sure we don't call ourselves facial recognition company, because as we discussed earlier, that nomenclature is a little bit bastardized already, right? I mean, the connotations are not pleasant. But if you think about authentication, the use cases, as you say, are endless. Because what is that key card you're holding? The key card is a proxy of your authenticity to be able to enter your office or building or whatever. And our, thesis is, what's wrong with your face? The face is so inherent to who we are, and we don't leave it at home, as we may sometimes do with our key cards. We don't lose it, as we sometimes do with these, what we call hard creds or proxies. So we've talked about physical authentication at sporting venues, offices, and so forth. I think we are increasingly going towards already a passwordless world. I mean, who wants to remember password to capital letters, lower letter, blah, blah, blah. I mean, many financial institutions are already doing what they call voice print. They're trying to figure out who you are and authenticate you based on your voice. We think in a multi-factor authentication or second factor or third factor, a face is more convenient even, right? So when there's no passwords for your financial transaction in the KYC environment, know your customer, or KYB, know your business environment, with just looking at my face, whoever the counterparty is, Fidelity or Chase, whoever is looking after the finances for me, can authenticate that it's me. Right now, it's not about physicality; it's about e-commerce. It's about doing financial business. So
they could use your face and your voice. So now you have a two-step authentication.
And if you say, I'm more paranoid, I want a third factor, well, then send me a ping on my phone or something. But phone alone is also transferable, right? Meaning, if someone stole my phone, or I have a gun to my head and said, okay, open your device, now put in the ping that you got, anything that's transferable is difficult. And that is why we think the TAM is huge, and the direction is one way.
And use cases.
I very often bring the analogy of a transponder in your car. If you remember, those things started happening 2001, 2002 timeframe. And in the beginning, people were like, what is this? I'll tell you, I was a little bit reluctant myself. The reason is, if you measure the time between 2 points, they can easily tell I was speeding. And I very well expected a speeding ticket to show up at my doorstep, right?
Yeah.
When they didn't, I realized, they're doing this just to collect tolls, not to see if I'm speeding. Well, if that's the case, I might as well do this, because why am I having to go from 80 miles an hour to 0, roll down the window, especially around the Boston area? It's cold. Get all the cold air in, throw some money at poor human beings, and then, you speed up at 80 miles an hour.
So
again.
There's a level of trust. You need to trust the organization that has the use case. in order to use it and to feel comfortable that they're not taking your information or abusing their system. Excuse me. So where are we in the spectrum of facial recognition, facial authentication, same as computing? Do you think we're in the early days, halfway through, where it becomes ubiquitous and there's like hundreds of uses? Where do you think we are?
If we're going to talk about a baseball analogy, we're in the first 5 minutes of the first inning.
Oof.
Because why do I say that? Because think about how many locked doors there are in the world. And, think about how many vendors there are. I mean, I look at every locked door where you need a key card and say, that's my opportunity. Yeah. Every ticketing that you go to, concert or game or whatever is my opportunity. Or people in this category. This is a very small category today, but it is growing in triple digits, and that category is going to grow. So, I have teenage kids, and I'm worried that someday I may need to preserve some of these maps. I mean, I travel across the United States by car 3 times in my 20s, and these AAA maps of the whole US and all. I'm worried that my kids won't know what a map is. To them, a map is a GPS, right? So similarly, I may need to keep some of these RFID cards.
Or keys.
Or keys, exactly. Keys from the Middle Ages, right? In 10 years, they'll say, what is that? That looks really cool with all these that's a key, young man or young woman. And that's called a key card, because that is going to be so obsolete so quickly. Anything that has a key and lock, and by the way, we're talking to all sorts of prospects and customers who do have lock and key. By the way, here's an example, a utility company. When you have power outage, they need to get to these utility closets quickly. And very often these closets are secured by lock and key. Now, they need to get there quickly, and it was a subcontract that had the last key. Of course, because they lost track of the subcontractor, or the subcontract went away, that person's not going to return the key, just going to throw it away. Now there's a problem of a locked closet that they need to get to immediately. And now they're saying, wouldn't it be amazing if we could manage who has access at all times and be able to change remove access, whatever, but in real time? Let's have a little camera, and that your face becomes a way to open
and it's
closet.
intertwined. Security is intertwined with this technology. Like all technology, there are good parts to it, and there are more bad parts to it also, where people can abuse it and control people and Big Brother, but at the same time make your life easier, more secure. And so how is it with computing power getting stronger, right? It's inevitable that this technology is going to be everywhere, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to that end, I would say there's a small technology developed in the late 40s, 50s called nuclear technology. It can be weaponized, or it can be a nuclear power, right? So there, as you mentioned, there two avenues and multiple avenues for every new technology, and this is the same. I think as society, we need to have enough safeguards that this doesn't become a nuclear weapon. This becomes nuclear power, because you're right. I mean, the compute is not going to stop. The genie's out of the bottle. We can't say, let's go back to Pentium 1 level of compute. It's not going to happen. Sorry. We're way past that. But how can we make sure that the bad actors are in check? And that is not going to be easy. The reason is, just look at cybersecurity. It's a constant, arms race, right? The bad actors have an advantage. They do bad things. Then, there are protections. My sense is that level of dynamics is going to be set up here as well. And we do need to safeguard, ourselves from these bad actors.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Sanjay, for joining us. This is fascinating. Love having you. Love this technology. And I wish you all the best.
Ziad, as always, love speaking to you. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for listening to Never a Dull Moment. We hope you've enjoyed the show. And don't forget to rate and review us. Until next time, have a great day.